going down. The Battlecruisers and Vikings coming forward. Seeker missiles going. Oh, the Vikings! Oh my goodness, that was insane. I don't even know what to think about that.
Huge.
Welcome everybody to the season number 3 of the ISTL, the Indie Starcraft Team League. I am Vindicator, and with me today is Niter. Niter, what is up, man?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'll be co-casting a Vindicator tonight, or today, I guess, for most people. How's it going?
It is going absolutely fantastic, Niter. It is a beautiful day out here on the sunny west coast of Southern California. We have a great day of StarCraft action lined up for you guys. We got 2 sets of really good teams. So 4 teams going to be playing today on this Sunday afternoon. First up, we've got Team Optik going up against Team Multitude Gaming. So MxG versus Optik coming up. MxG being from the United States and Optik being one of our Canadian teams, one of our 2 Canadian teams for season number 3. What can you tell me about these 2 teams, Niter?
I mean, I don't know too much about MxG, but I know a fair bit about Optik. I used to practice with some of their players. I played Coyote a few times on the ladder now, and I actually have them on my friends list, so I'm assuming that we've talked before. But Dream, I knew Dream pretty well, but I don't think he's with them anymore. But I'm really excited to see what Optik Coyote does. I mean, I've had some really good games against him. I know he's really good at stopping my Immortal Sentry all in. But he's playing his ZVT first, so I'm not really sure what we have in store for us today.
Yeah, for those of you that do not know Niter, guys, he's been streaming a lot on the Impulse stream. He is a GM aspiring Protoss from Team Impulse, very, very high-level player. He will be complementing my my play-by-play with his analysis today. But for our 2 teams today, both of them have already been able to play in the ISTL. Team MxG is coming into this series up 1-0 in their group, so they, I think, are tied for first place with Western Wolves in Group B. They were able to take down Team... I think it was actually Team Rip Zeez. No, it was Team... I'm forgetting which team they actually went up against, but I do know that Optik is coming in here down. They lost their first series, and that was a really tough loss for them because that series went all the way down to the wire. Game number 7, they lost that barely to Team Property in week number 1 of the ISTL. So they're definitely looking for some revenge here today, but can they get it? The very first game is just starting up now. We are just getting the countdown finished. If you guys are just joining us, this is the Indie StarCraft Team League season number 3. I am Vindicator, and with me is Niter. We are getting into game number 1. It'll be a Terran versus Zerg on WCS Cloud Kingdom.
Now, I'm very excited for this map, especially. It's a really good mech map for Terran, obviously not Zerg. But so we're going to see kind of what Coyote does. I don't know about Juro's style, but if it is mech, it's a very good mech map just because of how many cliffs there are and the narrow chokes where you can line up siege tanks, etc. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here.
All right, well, we also have to see what our blue Zerg player is going to be doing in this first game of this best-of-7 all-kill format. We have our blue Zerg spawning down in the bottom left position for Team Optik. He is their starter Zerg. He is Optik Coyote.
And then in the top right, we have the red Terran Juro playing for Team MxG.
Alrighty, so we got MxG Juro versus Optik Coyote. Both of these players actually opened up for their respective teams in their previous series. So both of these teams are just being very consistent with who opens for them. It could just be also that Juro and Optik are both very comfortable in their starting matchups on Cloud Kingdom, which you might have alluded to could be because Juro likes mech. Although if I do remember correctly, Juro did favor a lot of high economy aggression with a lot of very heavy biomech centered playstyles. So will he actually go for that on this map? That is definitely a viable option. This map is actually really, really good for things like drop play.
Yeah, no, it's great, especially once they're trying to take their 4th, and they can line up their Marines and Marauders or whatever they choose to do right behind the 4th, and it's just a really good form of harass, and then you can right away scoot back over to the main. So it's a good map for Terran to play a macro game. I mean, 2 base all-ins are decent on this map because there are a lot of chokes with the, Hellion Marauder kind of pushes, but I'd definitely love to see a macro game from Juro here.
I mean, this map is, oh, before I even get into that, we do have a little bit of an earlier gas actually being dropped down at 14. Now, I say early, like this is actually when like you used to drop gas all the time as Terran back in the day. Back in the good old days when Queen still had like 3 range, but this is something a little bit unusual these days because a lot of Terrans have been going for that one racks command center. So this is probably going to be indicative of a little bit earlier Hellion pressure. Could potentially be for an earlier cloak build with cloak banshees being so popular in the early game these days.
Yeah, but you know, Optik Coyote isn't playing it greedy. You know, he's sending out the drone scout, which I really like. He's gonna see that gas timing, and he right away kind of knows. You know what? There's gonna be some form of Hellion, Banshee, maybe a stem push, but generally it's gonna be Hellion or Banshee, and that's really nice for Coyote, you know, because he can bust out a couple extra queens, maybe a spine crawler, and he just knows what's coming more or less.
Yeah, Coyote is definitely playing a little bit safer than he could potentially be playing on this map. I've seen things like triple hatch before pool builds, but you're totally right though, Niter. I mean, that early drone scout is something that like a lot of Zergs have been cutting lately. It's been kind of like the corner that Zerg has been cutting in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. Yeah. So it's really nice to see that from Coyote. He's definitely going to be safe from this earlier Hellion opening. And he's still going to be getting his hatchery down at a really good time. And potentially this will allow him to protect his third base also.
Yeah. No, I really like this. And I mean, the 3 hatchery before a pool, you generally only do that if they go command center first, even before barracks. Otherwise, any form of, like, even 2 Marines in a bunker can basically deny that third. I mean, sometimes you can take the risk and hope they don't scout it, but generally, I feel like the only time that you can do that is if they do go command center first.
Clearly, Niter, you have not seen the level of Zerg greed that I have. Zergs basically say, no, I am going to take this hatchery. I'm going to take this hatchery or I am going to die trying, but Coyote is obviously not one of those players. So for Juro, this earlier Hellion play will allow him to actually completely secure his own command center timing, potentially allow him to even take a little bit of a faster third command center because Coyote is not actually dropping down any extractors so far. He will only be using slow links to actually fend off this earlier Hellion timing. So this will keep him like kind of in a defensive posture, allowing Juro to potentially take a very early third command center.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is getting, you know, the extra queen, so he's gonna have the defense repaired. But really, the Hellions aren't so much for the damage. Essentially, they're more for just the map control, and like you said, being able to take a quicker third, being able to kind of do whatever they want. Because Lings don't really want to move across the map when 6, 8 Hellions are out on the map.
All right, so this looks very similar to how Juro opened in the previous series that I saw him play. He is going straight into a stim timing following the Hellion opening. So this is kind of an older style a little bit. This is a little bit neglecting of the earlier Banshee play that we've been seeing a lot of in the Terran versus Zerg matchup. But what this will allow Juro to do is hit with a much stronger timing push at an earlier timing than you would be able to if you were just using a Hellion Banshee unit compositions.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you know, like Coyote's just getting his gases now. He won't have speed finished by the time that if he does decide to push right as stim finishes, he won't have speed done. And slow lings are already pretty bad against Marines, but Marines with stim, they're absolutely awful against.
So this, do you think this is going to be a big Hellion Marine push, or do you think he's going to be going straight into Medivacs from here?
You know, I feel with the extra barracks he's adding on, it's probably going to be a big Marine with stim push, because, you know, there's about 70 seconds left on the stim. However, you know, I don't really know for sure what we'll see out of here. It looks like he is just continuing Marine production, and I'd love to see a timing out of this, especially considering Coyote already took a third. He tried to take a little bit of a hidden third there. Not too far out of place, but it is a little bit hidden.
Yeah, those Hellions, though, they are like one of the best scouting units that Terran does have in their arsenal, and this third base position is a little bit exposed. It's not as quite as easy to defend as the third base location that is the more natural third base down here at the bottom right position. Yeah. We do have a pretty high queen count, though, for Coyote already going into this game. He already has 4 queens out on the field, so he's up to 6 queens total. Those 6 queens will be able to push those Hellions away, and now Juro's going to be a little suspicious, I think. He's going to be like, where is your third base? Are you going straight into a very big 2-base play from here, or are you taking a third base somewhere else on the map?
Yeah, and I mean, Juro back in his base, he's kind of, you know, he's getting up all his necessary infrastructure. He's getting up the starport, he's getting up his armory, his engineering bay, and really he's still macroing right now. He has these Hellions to contain the Zerg, but, you know, nothing too significant going on yet.
And you know what? He is going to be going straight into this medevac play from here. This kind of looks very indicative. This looks a lot like what you would see from Terran versus Protoss. He's got these Hellions out for map control. That would normally be taking the place of maybe a Marauder with concussive shell out on the map. But from here, he's going to be going straight into medevacs and just straight stim Marines from here. Very interesting build coming out of here for Juro.
Yeah, I really like this. I mean, the time that the combat shield finishes up, he'll have 2 medevacs out. He's getting a Viking out already to remove those overlords, and that allows for a really easy drop with stim.
One thing, though, for Coyote is that Coyote does see that Juro doesn't have any sort of siege tank or anything in position already, and he might have actually been able to get a peek at the very high Marine count, but Juro is actually hiding those Marines very nicely back in this little corner where the Overlord wasn't able to see them. He is continuing to stay active with those Hellions out on the map, and again, Juro has not been able to spot that third base location taken up here for Coyote. So a little bit of a gamble by Coyote taking the third base at that location, but it's paid off for him so far.
Oh, and I believe, it's not that far away from the normal third. If anything, it's almost easier to defend against drops because you can put a few spores at the third, and it will basically cancel out drops at the second, which I actually almost like more. The other thing is the third, the natural third that you usually take. It's really easy for Terran to drop back and forth between those two, and limit the fact that most Zerg units can't shoot up.
The other thing about this, though, Niter, is that I'm just starting to notice this. Look at the way that Coyote is spreading his creep. Because he only is spreading it in one direction, only needing to cover that third base in the same direction that he's spreading his creep, Coyote is actually getting a ton of creep tumors just going in this one direction. It's kind of like a beeline taking over the left side of the map. He will have creep at the third base of Juro within the next couple minutes if Juro doesn't do anything to stop the spread of this creep. And again, Juro is now noticing that there is still no third base down at the more natural third base position for Coyote, so he's definitely going to start wondering if there is a third base being taken over on the left side of the map.
Yeah, and I actually really like this idea because, with the creep spread only having to go out one way, his creep is going right to the third of Juro, and so he's going to have a complete creeper line right up to the third, and that's really nice to put it on aggression, pull him back to defend, etc.
This is going to open up a lot of counterattack paths for Juro. Also, it's going to make it very difficult for our Terran player to actually advance across the right side of the map, knowing that Zerg units, especially Zerglings, which are so fast on creep, will be able to just get in and out of his main base and his natural, and his third base without the ability for the Terran units to really be able to keep up.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm kind of questioning right now Juro's builds here right now. He's getting out, siege tanks now. It looked like he was going for kind of a Marine combat shield stim timing, but now he's starting to get up siege tanks. I feel like his economy is a little bit too far behind. A 13-minute third just doesn't really work very well against Zerg. And I mean, maybe he delayed it, of course, because he didn't scout that third for a while. But yeah, I don't know what to think about his build so far.
Yeah, I really do think that Juro was trying to time out his push with the third base timing of his opponent, trying to deny the third base of his opponent. It's kind of a natural thought process for Terran. It's like, okay, when Zerg takes their third, I'm going to attack. I'm going to deny their third. Then I'm going to take my third behind it, and I'm going to be ahead. And Juro, this whole time, until he scouted that third base of his opponent, kind of thought that he was ahead, potentially. He kind of thought that, because Zerg's still on 2 base, I'm fine as long as he's still on 2 base. And now, unfortunately, Juro is realizing way too late that his opponent's been sitting on a 3-base economy for quite a while, so now he's scrambling to catch back up.
Yeah. No, and it looks like Optik Coyote actually has Overlord speed now. I believe he already has drops for those Overlords, so I'm excited to actually see. Maybe this is just, it's an upgrade. It's the 15-minute point in the game. It's not very expensive. It does keep some Overlords alive. But I wonder if he's going to do a little bit of drop play with this.
We are going to be seeing some drop play from our Terran player. There is a drop being unloaded down here at the southern position. This will allow him to scout the timing of the fourth base of Optik Coyote. And now Coyote is going to be trying to defend 2 different positions at once, as we do have a large Terran army advancing on the top northern flank. A good fungal growth does go down on a lot of Marines. The medevac count for Juro is actually really low, and his Marine count is very high. So the damage that these fungal growths could potentially do is very high. There are so many Marines in that army and no Marauders or any other forward buffer units.
Well, I mean, the other thing is Coyote doesn't have any Banelings. He's morphing into them perfect. I like to see that. But I mean, all he really has is Infestors right now. But with a low medevac count, that's actually all right. That's all you need because the medevacs aren't going to be able to heal those Marines.
Ooh, a good fungal growth does go down on a lot of Marines, so a lot of Marines were taken down and all of that. Juro is now finally starting to clean up a lot of the creep of his opponent, but the presence of so many creep tumors is going to make this push move at a snail's pace across the Zerg territory, and this is going to allow Optik Coyote to get up all the units that he wants, and here come the Banelings. Optik Coyote is advancing on this position from our Terran player, and without a good siege tank count to actually combat the Banelings of our Zerg player, Coyote is able to steamroll through that army very, very easily, and is now in a position where he's able to pressure the third base of Juro.
Yeah, that is absolutely huge. I mean, like you said, the low siege tank count but the high Marine count, you know, you can't have just Marine on creep, because the Banelings are going to connect. They're not, you know, you can usually shoot them down fast enough off creep, but on creep, they're going to make those hits on those Marines.
We do have a small Marine strike force down here at the southern position trying to put some counterattack pressure on Coyote, but Coyote is in a position where he is able to defend it, and now Juro has lost his third base. He was not able to do any damage to the fourth base of his opponent, and he calls GG.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like Coyote almost psyched him out a little bit. It looked like he didn't take a third, and so I feel like Juro was kind of over-preparing for some sort of two-base push where, you know, and it delayed his third. It delayed his tech. He got very, very late siege tanks. He did a 15-minute push with 2 siege tanks. That's just not doable.
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely some mind games going on in that first game of this series, but mind games are part of Starcraft, folks, and just right there, it looked like our Zerg player Coyote from Team Optik got the better of his opponent in the mind game department, putting Team Optik up 1-0. Why can't I speak right now, Niter? I am just stumbling over my words right now when I'm trying to announce
first game.
Yeah, that is the very first game. It is going to be the very first of a long series of games today on this Sunday afternoon.